So I'm presenting on behalf of Professor Jean-Claude Perez, who is a retired IBM professor of mathematical genomics and biology from Bordeaux, France. And I'm his genomics collaborator as part of the International Fractal Alliance. And his topic is, it is not the technique that enslaves us, but the secret transferred to the technique. So let me go to the next slide and show you his photograph. Can you see the photograph of Professor Dr. Jean-Claude Perez from Bordeaux, France? Yes, correct. You can see that, right? Hello, can you hear me?
Proceed. Don't have to
Please
ask
proceed.
questions.
We can hear you. Please proceed.
We all hear you. You keep.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Talking.
Okay. So he is presenting his Conway's game of life. What he shows is a U structured figured here, and there is a self-organization, but yet fractal self-similarity. And apart from Conway's life, he is also suggesting that the programming language called APL, which even is not known today's world, is something he was working when he was working in IBM, and he was working on fractal chaos. And he goes on telling us he published a book, French book on artificial neural networks when he was neural networks and artificial intelligence professor way back in 1980s. And he was associated with another French giant, Benoit Mandelbrot, and he is IBM professor in the United States. At that time, he picked up and wrote this book and goes on to show that his golden ratio concept that he arrived at, and he published a book also on that. And it is actually the pi value and phi value that he is talking about. And it is actually the fractal chaos neuron, because the Purkinje cells and the synaptic cells, the fractal neurons, in fact, the humans themselves are fractals and multifractals, and therefore a lot of organs are fractals and organelles are fractals, and even genome is a fractal. So this professor has been working for a very long time, and he shows here as the Benoit Mandelbrot, the father of the fractal geometry, from a French American. And his friend entomologist, he shows here as Remy Chauvin, was working with the bees, and the advantage when working with entomology with the bees and ants, and he refers to the point that how the ants are very collectively working and how humans are disengaged even at this point of time, and that's what he's showing here as the golden spiral. The bee's world is the anthill. He calls it as an anthill actually. And going forward, the golden spirals, he published a patent way back. And at that time, he left artificial intelligence and he embraced genomics. And at that time, he also was the first person to work with other scientists in the US on a CD for the first music gene. And he was the first person to collectively engage a lot of scientists in the US on the fractal music and first music that was produced in 1995. And he shows that the musical sheet of the oncogene KRAS and KI-RAS, and also these oncogenes, KI-RAS and RAS gene, and all these things are very well known. And how he came up with this based upon this artificial intelligence, and he engaged himself into genomics post his interaction with Luc Montagnier, who is a Nobel laureate from France, and he is now actually the part of the Luc Montagnier Foundation in Switzerland. And he explains that the fractal dragon curve moves on the human genome codon population. And one of his work is on the golden ratio, and not only on the golden ratio, the pi value, pi, and phi value that he has worked on. And he has shown the fractal chaos, how important it is. And when he looked at the codon, the chromosome 4 and other chromosomes, and he derives that the 6 fractal dragon transformation of codons from the universal genetic matrix. He goes on to say the formula of the life, the supracode that he derived from the formula of the life, and this non-linear numerical projection of their atomic mass. I don't want to go into a lot of mathematical details, but I will be happy to provide all of his papers. And over the past 33 years that he has interacted with Luc Montagnier, Professor Luc Montagnier, who is a discoverer of the HIV/AIDS virus in France, and his deputy is there. And this is a slide that is showing probably a Louis de Broglie interference, field of isotopes, the duality of the waves and particles. And he alludes to the fact that how Einstein's principles of the and other Heisenberg principles come into play in the genomics. And here he goes on to say the master of code biology unifying genomics and proteomic world. And although I don't want to go to such details that I'm explaining, but due to the paucity of the time, I want to tell you about chromosome 1 to 8 that he looked at, the binary logic code 0 to 1 that we talk about, and the patterns that you find, the karyotypes of the chromosome, the binary code that is emerging, and the emergence of the proteomic structure of the binary code that he is showing here, and also the Fibonacci number stationary wave overlapping the gorilla's chromosome 4 that he is showing, the Fibonacci numbers, and there is importance in the fractal chaos. That is exactly what he is looking at, because the resonance, the DNA resonance, is a well understood concept. And there are a lot of people out of the United States and even Russia, people are working on it. And it is known that the DNA resonance is a very important fact altogether. So this is J.C. Perez with Alexis Montagnier. In summer of 2020, he published a paper that there are external sequences in the COVID genome, and they show fractal aberration. It is one of the key publications that he did along with him, and that received a mixed review over the media, and also he got covered in the France as well. And late Professor Luc Montagnier and himself, Professor Jean-Claude Perez, agree the mathematical giant of the 21st century, Srinivasa Ramanujan, whose grandson is chairman of this conference, Professor Ethirajan Govindarajan, he believes that the free research is not done the way that the Westerners are doing at the moment, and how to free the Western researchers and all the world's researchers from the burden of doing a more and more profit-driven, commercialized world to asking the fundamental questions that are very important to the basic humanity and the life, and relieving the dreaded diseases from the humanity. So, having said that he is looking at the last slide that is showing is the aesthetic formula, and he predicts that the elements, the P from the universal Mendeleev periodic table of the elements, that he published this paper. So, with that. I think that I made it very clear that he transfers from AI and ML and other from 1980s. He is one of the torchbearers of artificial intelligence, and he has promoted himself into biology, genomics, computational mathematics, biomathematics, and as well as getting into computational genomics and mathematical genomics. And particularly, he is part of our mentors in International Fractal Alliance, and he is one among the pioneers in France doing this kind of work along with the Luc Montagnier Foundation. And with that, I would like to stop here, and whatever questions you may have, I will pass it on to him, and he will be the right person. Due to unfortunate situation here, he was not able to participate today. Thank you very much.